Welcome back to the Sounds Like Freedom podcast. I'm your host, Deborah Henne. I'm here today with my friend, owner of the Gracing Cart, Stephanie Rodriguez. She is a devoted wife, homeschooling mom of three, and one of seven siblings, born in Puerto Rico and raised in the United States. As a teenager, she gave her heart to Christ, a decision that has shaped every chapter of her life. When she began her family, she felt a strong conviction to be home with her children. She and her husband agreed to make that shift, trusting God even when it meant living on one income. Although she knew nothing about homeschooling at the time, she knew she wanted her children to be raised in a Christ centered environment and to be deeply involved with their education. And that
Mhm,
transition was not easy. For years, she wrestled with leaving behind the identity she had built through her education and stepping into a calling she didn't yet understand. After
mhm,
exploring several social marketing companies and still feeling unfulfilled, she sensed that God had more for her, even if she couldn't yet see it. What followed was a long season of waiting, praying, and wondering why God seemed silent.
mm.
Then, in His perfect timing, God stirred in her the direction she was passionate about: food, creativity, and hospitality. With a husband gifted in carpentry, she
Yeah.
shared what seemed to be like a crazy and risky idea and asked him to build a mobile charcuterie cart. And what started as a small spark quickly became a shared family calling. Together with her daughter, she stepped into a new season using their gifts to create experiences that bring joy, connection, and grace filled moments. Welcome, Stephanie.
Oh my goodness, thank you for having me. I just got chills from you reading that and almost like choked up. I'm like, come on, Stephanie, it's too early for this.
I am so excited to have you here today. We have been friends for years. We've
Yes.
homeschooled together. We've, shared hard moments together and hopes
Yeah.
together and dreams together. And we've gone through a lot of the same wrestlings of, I'm stepping into a calling of my life. And okay, God, what is next?
Mhm.
So you mentioned in your bio about leaving behind an identity you had built, and I'd love for you to talk a little bit more about that, about, an identity that you built, like maybe it almost sounds like almost like a false sense of identity to find the identity that God really has for you.
Um, so the identity, I guess, came with pride, right? Pride of feeling like I'm the first one to go to college. Like as you mentioned, I'm out of seven. So being the first one in my family, not just immediate family, but cousins and beyond, is just it just filled me with just pride, but in a good way. But when I went to college and I got my degree, I just felt like, wow, so proud of myself. I have so much ahead of me and I had this whole plan. And I would always say, like, I'm not, for me growing up, my surrounding was not any, there was really no like careers around me in the sense of like family. Like I didn't have anybody to kind of refer to as, oh, I want to be that person. It was more of fighting against what my environment was. And to me, I felt like I want to be um a, a career person, right? I just felt like it just proved I was the first one in the family, but then also that independence and just I pursued it, and I remember telling my best friend in high school, I said I would never be a stay-at-home mom. Like, no, because to me, the perception I had was different from what I have today.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And that's so good. I mean, it's interesting because our stories almost flipped, where I came from a family where a lot of people went to college, almost everybody went to college. It was kind of expected.
Mm,
And
mm.
growing up, I was like, I am never going to college.
Yeah.
I am going to be a stay-at-home mom, and
Oh
that
my
is my
gosh, are you
dream.
serious? Oh my
And
gosh.
that's all I want to do. That's all I want to be. And I was told in no uncertain terms by my parents, you are going to college.
No, my goodness.
And so I said, well, I'm going to pray about it and I'm going to do what God tells me to do. And God said, go to college. so, so I went to college. Um, and it was almost the opposite, where I had to sacrifice and give up that stay-at-home mom dream that I had always
Mm,
had,
mm,
because God had something different for me. And, that wasn't my identity. I had created an identity in my head. And it sounds like that's
mhm,
kind of what you did too. Like, you created this identity in your head, you were making steps toward it. I did the same thing. We made steps, we saved, got married,
Mhm.
got saved, made all the plans, all that stuff, and then it came crashing.
It
Came
shifts,
crashing
right? It
down.
shifts.
A shift. So talk to me about the shift, because it can be
Oof.
huge and really big on
Ugh.
especially that one that chooses to stay home. Whether it's a dad or a mom, usually we see the mom staying home, but
Mhm.
I do know some stay-at-home dads, and
Yeah.
that can be really hard.
Oh, it was hard. It was so hard. My goodness. W- I- to summarize it, it started when my firstborn was born, and I was working third shift. I already had graduated, and I did enjoy what I did. And it was hard for me to leave him as a newborn, and the thought of leaving him with somebody else with for more times, more hours in the day than he would spend with me was heartbreaking. But at the same time, I'm like, I worked so hard for this. Going back to that identity, I worked so hard to achieve and accomplish this. And now I'm gonna be the very thing I didn't want to be and what I fought against, which was a stay-at-home mom. Again, because of the way the perception that I had. Like the perception that I had was more like you're a stay-at-home mom, you're depending on the government, you're not pushing forward, not again, this was my skewed perception. And obviously, after having a newborn, you quickly realize how much work is involved
Yes.
with being a stay-at-home mom. But honestly, my husband was the one that really helped me through that season, and the season was very long, because even though we decided, okay, it came, I wanted, the desire was there, but I just couldn't make that jump. And my job was union based, and they ended up shutting one program, and the only choice that they had given me was a second shift. And at the time, my husband was studying, and I really didn't know, like, oh my gosh, like this would be dumb for me to like have him quit right now. And we just decided, okay, this is the moment. I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, maybe not that way, but the shift started. And then also came just that identity, right? Just kind of crashing down, and just like, who am I anymore? Like, because it was just on my career, on my achievements. And I just felt like I failed myself. And it was hard. It took months, years, years,
Oh, yeah.
years. And my husband would just always reassure me, like, oh my gosh, you're doing such an amazing job. You're an incredible mom. And I just always felt there was something missing, like, that part of me where I felt like, how do I fill my cup? Like that identity, like beyond motherhood, beyond a wife. I just felt like it was attached to my career. But
And that's
that's
so
the beginning.
common. Yeah, and
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
so common to attach our identity. I mean, you think about it. You meet somebody, you get to know their name, and the next thing is, what do you do?
yeah. What do you do?
Because
Yes.
so like it creates this construct in your mind of who that person is. And there's a truth that, we're shaped by our experiences, but at the same time, if I'm building my belief about who I am on anything other than God, what
Mm-hmm.
and it can be good things like being a
Hmm.
wife, being a mother, going to school, building a career, accomplishments, achievements. Those are all good things, but it's not a
Hmm.
God. It's
Right,
still
right.
it's a shaky foundation, and
Hmm.
God, I would say God loves us enough to take it right out from under us
Oh
because
yeah,
he
he humbled me.
knows. Oh yeah.
He knows how to humble quick.
Yep. And he'll take it out because he knows you need to build on him. So
Right,
was there
right.
like a moment where you just kind of started to come to this realization of this isn't who I am. I am a child of God. I'm a daughter of God.
Right, right. Yeah, again, my husband kept reminding me that, and I just didn't want to hear it, to be honest. Like, I was just like, I was having a hard time detaching myself from that. And it came through, again, years of accepting like, Stephanie, you're no longer that person. You cannot continue to hold on to that identity that you had in high school and those dreams and hopes. Like, we have to transition out of that and move on from that. And I was really just trying to seek God and, like, Lord, please just, I don't know, like, I don't know who I was, and even years after, and being a stay-at-home mom, and trying to find out, like, okay, so what do I do? What I do for income? What I do for to fill my cup, and I dabbled into some marketing, and we did Norwex together.
Yeah, we did.
And yes, and I love the products. Shout out to Norwex. But and another one as well, which was more related to health. But I kept coming back and empty. It didn't matter how much, like, you climb that ladder. I was just left on empty. I said, this doesn't feel right. This is not what I was called to do. It just didn't fill my cup the way that I felt that God wanted to do that. And like you mentioned before, it was having my identity on him, and nothing, none of that stuff was gonna lead me to have that identity solely on him. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if
Mhm.
we have our identity built on literally anything else other than I am a child of God,
Absolutely.
it can crumble and
Mhm.
crash and
Absolutely.
burn in
Yes,
no time flat.
all of it.
All of
All
it.
of it. Witness. I'm a witness to it. I'm sure you are as well.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. And
Yeah.
so just going into deep in prayer, deep
Mhm.
in the presence of the Lord and letting Him fill that cup and letting
Mhm.
Him build you, and then download revelation, not that that's your identity. It's a
Right.
role, it's a function, but
Right.
you're not doing that to build who you are. You're doing that out of an overflow of who God has called you to be.
Right.
So he downloaded this vision to you for
Mhm.
this mobile cart. Now I am not I know I've it because you've talked to me about it and I watched some of your videos, but can you tell us about what it is?
Yeah. So, oh gosh. So, what's funny is the word charcuterie. I didn't even know how to say the word. And I never even did a charcuterie board. If you're familiar with that, it's just the styling art of food, right? Aesthetically, with salami roses and different cuts of cheese, and make it look, as the teens say, aesthetically pleasing. And so my husband, who is a carpenter by trade, I was randomly scrolling through Instagram trying to find purpose, right? That sounds really horrible, but it's true. I was just kind of like, Lord, you're going to speak through me at some point. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. I felt like God was silent in that season. And just on a random scroll, I came across this charcuterie cart. And I looked up when my husband was off of work at night, the kids were in bed, and I look over at him and I was like, oh my gosh, I have this idea. I think it's gonna work for this season of life. Because I was at the point where I felt like I was spiraling in my own identity. Like, what do I do now? Like, as the kids are getting a little older, I just wanted something to call my own. And to the point where I had applied at a job and I hadn't applied in years to any job, and God closed that door, and I just kept waiting. I'm like, Lord, what is it? Like, I know that you want to use my gifts and talents for something, but what is it? So as I was doing a random scroll, I came across that charcuterie cart. So it's this mobile cart that comes apart, and it has like trays, and it has the meats and the cheeses and fruits and honey and things like that. And as the guests are coming up, you serve it on a disposable plate or board as well. Um, so I just, told my husband about this, and I said, I think it would fit into this season. I could, work around the schedule with the kids, work around your schedule. He has a swing shift, so it was hard to even try to get another job outside the house, because I wanted to socialize. I'm like, I didn't realize how social I was
Mhm.
until I didn't have
Yep,
a
yep.
social life. So I
That'll do it, right?
right.
You're like,
I'm like, I want to talk to adults. So I just felt that, oh wow, like I could do this. I could socialize. I could talk to other adults and women, and and be able to serve. But to me it just felt like, oh wow, this would be fulfilling. Like I love to serve, and I love food. So that started that. And then as that, like as I said that to him, and he just, oh, okay, and it just, the ball started rolling, and from that I felt like God led me to add your daughter into this business. And right away he gave me the name. I felt that he gave me the name to it. So there's grazing tables. So I did a word play with grazing and did Gracing, which is her middle name, Grace. um and yeah, so it's like a mother daughter business, but it really takes the whole family. It takes a whole family support. And um yeah, it started with the Instagram scroll. I'm not by any means telling people to scroll on Instagram to find your purpose. No,
Oh,
part of that also was prayer and petition, and asking God, like, Lord, please reveal to me. Like, I really feel like he was being silent. And I think it was more he was waiting for me to draw near to him and cut back on the noise so I could actually hear.
I'm glad you said that because, it's hard when God is silent. I
Mm-hmm.
kind of went through again, a very similar journey. I think we went through it pretty much at the same time too, where it was
Mm,
like, I know there's more. I know, like,
right.
I have a bit of, I know kind of what God wants me to do, but I know I haven't stepped into it. And is there something else? And I knew
Mm-hmm.
that what I was doing, I was going to be called out of. God had made that very
Mm-hmm.
clear to both my husband and I, but he didn't tell us where to go. He said,
Mm-hmm.
so you can you'll be stepping out of here. But then I was like, okay, to what?
Right.
And and you're sitting there and you're in holding. It's like you're in this holding space with
Yes.
God, and
Mm-hmm.
he's not really giving you anything more other than, well, that isn't it. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like, okay, it's very uncomfortable, wouldn't you say?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. I just felt that then I allowed myself to, like, okay, Stephanie, move forward now, and I didn't feel like there were any doors closing. So a funny story, there was this girl out in California, because I started looking at a lot of cart businesses, and I said, Lord, I do not see myself as an entrepreneur. Like, how random is this? Like, God is so intimate that he knows what you enjoy, what you love. And to me, it was the socializing, the serving, and the food. And it's all in the cart. Like, it's just crazy. And then also the season. And being able to be mobile, being able to make my own schedule, and expanding into charcuterie workshops, where then allows more time to spend time with other women, and also just share a bit of that testimony and encourage other women as well. I've seen that the business is now just more than I could ever think or imagine. Ephesians 3:20, that's part of my logo, because I was clinging on to that. I was clinging on to, like, Lord, now onto him who is able to do greater, right, than we could ever think
Mhm.
or imagine. And that's the verse that I kept repeating over and over again, because I did not know, okay, now this is the car. What am I gonna do? Like, what? Like, I have no qualifications. Like, you know. So yeah, I really clinged on to that verse. Moving forward.
That's awesome. So yeah, God can do immeasurably more, but we have to wait on him for
Yes.
that time. You keep going back to that timing thing. And that's so true. And sometimes we search in the timing, right? In the wait. We're
Hmm.
waiting and listening and seeking God, and we're looking, like you were going through Instagram, and I
Hmm.
was kind of looking, and I could see things, like I could see, oh yeah, I could see that, but I don't see myself there. That's not right. The
Hmm.
same thing where it's like scrolling through life. Like, okay, God, what is it? And then when he downloads it, it's like what I would have never imagined,
No.
but there's no better fit. There's
Oh my
no
goodness. So customized. So
So
customized.
customized.
Yeah.
So customized. And I think you have all that it takes because you are a great go-getter. And you make amazing, beautiful things. Like, I always look at
Thank you.
what you make, and, like, we would go to, like, social gatherings and parties, and be like, "Oh, wow, she's, like, really awesome." And then there's my slop over there. It's, like, thrown in the dish. Like, I it's like, "It tastes good, guys. It really does." Kinda thing. But yeah, but you mentioned the workshops. Can you tell us more about the workshops? So you do like on-site mobile catering essentially, right? Where people can book you for an event and like a wedding or a shower or some
Yeah,
sort of
absolutely.
function like that, and you do everything. And then but you also do workshops. So can you tell
Yeah.
us about the workshops?
So the workshops, honestly, like the cart is something that is still kind of like up and coming, right? It's something that's really big out west, and it's kind of making its debut out here in the East Coast. But in that waiting, I'm just like, okay, while I book the cart, I'm gonna attend this charcuterie workshop, which I did with my best friend, and then from one class, I thought, hold on, like I could do a workshop. I love just engaging with other women, and I again, like I just felt like God's whispers, right? And one of the moms at the co-op that we go to owns a cafe in Ephrata, and shout out to her, Courtyard on Main by Courtney, and her just her mind, like her name came to mind, and I said, "Oh, like maybe I could do a collaboration with her." And I said, "Lord, if this is crazy, like if this is just my own doing, and I'm just thinking crazy, then let her say no. Like it's okay. Maybe it was just me." So I reached out to her, like, "What do you think about doing like a collaboration? You could do mocktails at the cafe, highlight some of your things from the cafe, and maybe even offer, like, she has some vendor little what do you call, like, little tables and stuff like that with local vendors." And I said, maybe you could even offer a discount that day, like a shopping discount. So I'm throwing all these ideas, and she was, "Oh my gosh, I love it." So that was our first workshop, and it really, I would always remember this workshop because it really pushed me to lean closer to God in the turnout, because I kept believing for, I said, "Lord, I believe that there's going to be 15 people minimum." And you know the week into the event, I was like, "Oh my gosh, like there's not 15 people, like what's going on?" And the night before, one of my friends had booked 4 tickets, and we were at 18, we were maxed out. And it was just, I felt like another just another way of God saying, like, you're heading in the right direction. And it was more than the workshop, because honestly, I didn't go into it actually knowing what I was doing. It was my first workshop. But it was more like, man, if I could be with other like-minded women, and I could share part of my testimony and encourage somebody else, um it would just mean so much to me. And we just had such an amazing time. So from there, I have some other workshops coming up, and then we also did, my neighbor has a rental company, a party rental, and the same thing, like, "Hey, what do you think if we collaborate together and we do a mommy and me workshop?" And we did. So it's not just the cart, it's how God is using it to just do so many different things through it as well.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
So when you do these events or like you get booked to be the caterer, can they expect like just appetizers? Do you do like can it be like a main dish, a dessert?
Yeah, so because of licensing, because I don't have a commercial kitchen, is really things that are not cooked. So I prep like the salamis, like I roll them into pretty nice little roses or fancy designs. So for example, like we did a sweet 15, that was actually one of our first events, and I have the menu. So I'm Puerto Rican, like how you mentioned in the bio, and I have a package that's a Puerto Rican package called entremeses. So we have some typical things that we usually serve at parties, like guava and cheese, and like the salami olives, and just different things to kind of cater to that. So all of that is prepped in advance into skewers. I ended up doing cups because I thought it would be cute for Sweet 15, and Let me tell you, it was a couple hundred skewers. A couple hundred skewers. So the cart is set up where there's 12 trays. So everything is set up so when the guests arrive, they're coming towards the cart and they tell me what they want. If they want everything on the cart, then they could get everything. Or if they want something else, like it could be customized. Where with a grazing table, which I started doing that as well, I love it because it's so artistic. Um, but sometimes it's at the end of the day, there's so much waste, depending on how many people are there. And to me, it looks kind of like a mess. But by that time, I'm already gone and I don't have to witness it. So I feel like the cart allows for it to just be just nicely done and catered individually and individually served as well. And I enjoy that with my daughter because then we get to serve the people. And just I always, before we go to an event, we always pray and we always ask God, like, may his love and just penetrate through us, that we may be able to have an impact on the people, and may we just be his hands and feet.
That's awesome. Now you mentioned individualized. Can you accommodate like allergies or special
Absolutely.
diets like
Yep.
vegetarian, vegan?
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely. And a lot of times in events, because I've also done vendor events, those haven't gone so well because you over calculate. And the recent vendor events we've had, I'll be honest, they weren't as successful because they're not prepaid events. So the idea when I started the business was to do prepaid events, do Sweet 15 weddings, corporate events. Um, but to fill in that gap and also have that exposure in marketing, I decided, okay, let's do some vendor events. And it's good experience, and
Mhm.
it's good to get your name out there, but oh my, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. And you don't know what the turnout is going to be. We were at a recent event, we did mini pancakes. So I actually have a griddle that we have a mini pancake maker, and I thought it was the best thing. Like, we were like, oh my gosh, there's going to be kids there and it's going to be amazing. It was in front of a train station. So this has to be like a hit. It's going to be a hit. We're gonna be eating pancakes for a while.
It happens, right? It can
We're gonna,
happen, but you just
yeah,
keep going. You're like, okay, what works, what doesn't work, and that's part of learning and
yeah,
growing
yeah.
for
It's
sure
it's
as you're
not
launching
all.
here.
Yeah, I definitely want to share that as well, because even though God has answered this in the season, doesn't mean that every single event is gonna go 100%.
Right.
It's still developing my
Mhm.
character in the business, and just a lot of experiences.
Absolutely. So how can people get a hold of you and book you if they're interested?
Yeah, so I think you had included, I sent you the Instagram, the Facebook, the email is thegracingcart@gmail.com. I am working on a website. Um, but yeah, pretty much my social media.
Okay, and we'll include all those tags as well.
Yes.
And don't forget to swipe, tap, or click over to deborahhenney.com. Follow me on social on the X, Instagram, or Facebook at Deborah Henne Author. And let's not forget to tune into our thoughts so they sound like Jesus's, so they sound like freedom, and eat some yummy, delicious, beautiful food as well.
Amen.